Oh, did it go or no? Let me see it.
It's going.
Is it going?
Hmm?
Is there a red thing or something?
Red and its
okay.
Clock's going.
Alright, I am Kyle Sargent. Doing a presentation on Burkina Faso, my adopted country in the developing world. And now I'm going to introduce my audience, or I'll let them introduce themselves. This is...
I'm Bryce Sargent, Kyle's father, and unwilling
I'm Laura Lynn Sargent. I'm Kyle's mother.
I'm Tyler Sargent. I'm Kyle's brother.
You betcha. Alright. Yeah, this is my audience. This is the ones that viewed the website and gave me back some responses, what they liked, some goals and stuff, some things they wanted to know more about, and we're going to discuss that. First talk about Burkina Faso. Of course, I know you guys viewed the website. It's a country in Africa. It's kind of in the developing world, I guess. Kind of, hence the name of the class. and so they're not quite up to date like here in America. They still live in tribes. They don't necessarily have electricity or water.
Average lifespan 55.
Is it? Did you look at that?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. Average lifespan of 55. Yeah, it kind of reminded me, I went on a mission to Cape Verde, a country off the west side of Africa. Some of the same way of living. I don't know if you guys seen the pictures from my mission, but...
Yeah, well, I wondered if it was comparable to your mission, because we learned a lot about your mission, of course, while you were in Cape Verde, so it was interesting that you chose a country that was in Africa, kind of close to there, so it's similar to that. Is that what you're saying? The development? Okay.
Way of life. In the bigger cities, it's more developed, just like Cape Verde. The cities, they have some technology, they have some cars, they have motorcycles, they have computers, some water. But the more out, the more rural it gets. They live in like huts, or they get water out of a well, like biblical times. They cook on open fires. They have to gather wood all day. The women do. It's just kind of a hard lifestyle. Like a lot of diseases there.
It sounds like education is one of the bigger problems for them.
Yeah. Most people. It's actually the thing I read is the most. I think I put it on there. It's the most illiterate country in the world. They just don't have enough schools. They don't have funding. The basic point to it.
And apparently it's not a big high priority because they're still trying to work on just basic living. So that makes it hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
That truly does. Because I've been reading and stuff, and it talks about how they want to send their children to school, and the government wants to make education important, or they've wanted to make them get important, but it's not like here in America how did you go to school? Did it cost you money, Dad? Even back in when you went to school, to grade school.
Just supplies, which wasn't much, probably.
See, just
Mom and Dad bought pencils and paper, but I think all the books and everything were all paid for.
Were paid for. Yeah.
Somebody paid for them.
Yeah.
But we're required to go to school. I mean, it's actually, and there, obviously, they don't have that opportunity or that push for education for their children yet, like we do. And so, we're privileged to have that here in America. We don't even realize. I mean, you see countries like that in Africa, and you think and that's the reason they're underdeveloped, is because they don't have the education, they don't know how to read, so you can't expand if you can't. I mean, reading is so important to be able to develop new technology, or even how to read a recipe, or how to follow instructions for something, so they're lacking in all of that. And disease control or health issues, a whole bunch of things makes it a problem. So. That is a big thing.
They look like poverty is so bad they wouldn't have really much to read in. There's not much there to read. That seemed to me like. It's the idea to get at least. Out, at least out where they live, out in the country, farming. Didn't have much water, it looked very dry. And the wells were a long ways away. It seemed like it took them quite a while to haul it back to the... They have some strange beliefs. I mean, I guess that way, I had one picture in there of all the women that were like abandoned or something, or banished because they thought they were witches.
Yeah.
So they kind of backwards that way.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids don't have parents because they've died of AIDS or other diseases, and then a lot of kids that look like they were starving, and they have swollen stomachs and malnutrition, I guess. So, skin and bones.
And that was pointed out even in this article by President or Elder Oaks, and it talked about how kids die before their 5th birthday. 8 million children throughout the world die before they're even their 5th birthday because of disease that are probably both treatable and preventable. But through the World Health Organization reports that 1 in 4 children have stunted growth mentally and physically because of inadequate nutrition. And it talks about how some tragedies are common as the continents where many caregivers die because of AIDS. And that's got to be one of those countries that are involved in that. So after seeing that website on this country in Africa, Burkina Faso, yeah, then it's interesting because you look at this article or this conference talk from the ensign in a whole new light. It's like, I mean, it's on protecting the children, and I focused on America, but when you read about countries like this, then you see that it's worldwide, it's everywhere, but it's even worse in other countries like that. And it makes me feel like I need to be doing something to help them, or, you know, as a nurse or as a member of the church, I have different aspects to that because I feel like I need to be helping prevent those diseases, or what could I do to make their water better, or, you know, it's things like that that you just take for granted here, that we're so blessed with, so it's hard.
Absolutely. And those life there, it's super difficult. Obviously, you saw it on the website. We watched the video in class about how societies fall, and a guy just brought up a point how the guy said, it was a talk on, it's called TED.com. It has all these big talks from these really smart people. But he said, he's talking about how societies fall, and how if someone says there's only one problem or something, they're an idiot, because it's a whole, a dozen of problems, and you need to fix all of them to be able to fix it. Otherwise, if you fix 11 of them and you miss one, it's still gonna collapse. It's gonna fall. It's kind of like a tower or something.
Oh, that's interesting.
But like talking about education, they don't have funding. The father, they'll try to say be a person that fixes motorcycles, or I don't know, a goat herder or something. If he dies of AIDS or something like you're talking about, the mother, all her job was just to gather wood, to cook all day long. She would just do that. And by after the father dies, a lot of times the wife doesn't have any money for food. They can't survive. The kids don't have anything. And if someone doesn't, not able to help them out, then they often suffer from starvation or. But just like you're talking about education-wise as well, mothers don't have money to fund their kids. They want to. I watch videos on YouTube. They want to fund their kids. They want to send their kids to school, but they just can't do it. It costs money to go to school. Just like you did back then, you have to bring their paper, you have to bring their pens, they have to buy their books themselves. The school doesn't provide almost anything. Plus, they have to pay for the water and electricity of the building if they had a building, which a lot of places don't. But
Well, and it's hard to promote education in children when the parents aren't educated. I'm sure you saw that in Cape Verde. We see that here in some cultures, where we're trying to teach the kids English and we're trying to teach them, certain things that are different than that's in their home. because they don't have that same language, or they don't have the push, or they don't know the math. They can't help their kids with their homework because they haven't been educated themselves. So you've got to start somewhere, true, but it's hard when you don't have education from the older people to help the younger ones.
I think that's important that the older ones, they can't. I saw that a lot in Cape Verde as well.
Yeah.
Being there, the parents, they didn't have any education. They couldn't read. They couldn't help their kids out with their homework if they had any. They couldn't do anything except for kind of teach them how to sweep or cook.
Well, even
a
the
few
language
things.
was different in some cases like that too.
And you know, the wife, they spend a lot of time just doing general things like, Tyler, how fast can you make something to eat if you're hungry? How long does it take you?
5 minutes.
What do you have to do? All the things you have to do. If you're hungry in the house, you're like, oh, I'm hungry. What do I need to go get?
Get the peanut butter out of the cupboard and jam and some bread and knife and put it on there and eat it.
You have to do that.
And you
How
have a
long would that-
refrigerator available. And
Yeah, just eat the vegetables or anything that's in there.
How long would that take you?
Like to finish, like 20 minutes.
Maybe 20 minutes maximum. That's because you eat probably like 5 sandwiches, right?
No, just like one.
Imagine if you had to gather sticks from the wilderness where there's hardly any sticks. You have to go around searching for sticks, put them in a big bundle, put them on top of your head, and walk miles back to your house just so you had something to burn, so you had something to start a fire, to cook something.
you mean they don't have peanut butter in their cupboard?
Well, I've done that for scouts, not for miles, just for like a mile or two.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know if I could live like that, but I thought it was fun at the time.
Kind of interesting experience. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Main food over there, what, rice? What, rice?
Yeah, I assume so. Most of the country is like that, just because it's so cheap.
Some vegetables, maybe.
Rice. They actually have a lot of agriculture there. Not. Go get Jared or Bryant. They're saying. Can you get Jared or Bryant? One of them.
So tell us about the globalization.
All
I don't
right.
understand that.
So globalization, one important thing we learned about in class, kind of important. Just how the world's developed. It kind of just the idea that or the concept that ideas, inventions, anything are spread to the world to better it. For example, the printing press is an example of how the world changed from being able to stamp the letters on to just being able to produce books very quickly, and increase reading, increased education. People became smarter, a learning curve came up. The internet is another thing. It just kind of went across the entire world and connected them. You didn't have to go on a boat for days on end just to get to another country to find out something that happened who knows how long ago. But
The internet, if it's available, at least.
yeah. But so that's the kind of idea of globalization, just how things are spread. We talked about in class kind of how you take different perspectives and why it's good or not. Like in a celestial perspective, globalization, you can talk about good and bad things, like you say the internet, planes, everything. You can spread the gospel more, printing press, make Book of Mormons. So in that aspect it's really good, we can help people out. But also with the internet, they brought up in class kind of how, there's opposition in all things. The internet's great for, LDS.org, for learning, for doing good things, but also, Satan creeps in there and there's bad things. And if parents don't teach their kids or something, then things can happen, or they can fall into little traps, or Satan's always trying. So there's opposition in all things. There's good and bad with certain things. But can you guys think of any ideas of globalization or anything? Any invention or ideas? Even the gospel, kind of the idea of spreading the gospel.
I think just creating a vision for people. Because a lot of Mormon.org videos and stuff of people actually going over to those countries and volunteering, and then they build up like a school and get funding, and like their family all use donations and things, and they put it together, and they save a lot of kids and health-wise and education and everything else. If more of the people of the United States would do that, would try to volunteer their time if they have the time, or even just donate things, I think that would help the world a lot more.
Well, it's interesting just that in him saying that, the vision and it's getting the word out. I mean, years ago we may not have even known these people existed over there, or without your website, or without your, you know what I mean? It's a way to spread that we can help globally now rather than just in our own little area. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like with missions or service missions or different things that could help people.
I think if you just made it more of a personal thing, where you like interviewed a family or walk around with them and then showed it to the world, they have more compassion, want to do more for them. Because when I was on my mission, the more you got to know people, the more you wanted to help them, the more you wanted to do what you could. So I think the more you know about them personally, the more you want to help.
So tell me about the numbers with globalization. I don't understand the one or two, that sort of thing.
First, I was just gonna say a comment about that.
Okay.
What Tyler said. I think the idea. I was thinking about that in class too, and in the emails you kind of said like, how do we help them? What can we do more to like help people over there in Africa or Burkina Faso? I don't know how you say it, but, and I think that's the key point, is just to educate people, to help them, influence them to get to know the people, to learn about them. Because, you know, everyone knows, like, oh, you know, you're not going to eat that, kids are starving in Africa. It's just kind of a fact or a thing, like, oh yeah, people are starving. But once you learn about them, once you learn how families live, how they compare to your life, how blessed you are, how bad their lives are, or how maybe you could help or something. It kind of just makes it more personal, realize, you know, they're real people out there, they're suffering, and you could help them. And it kind of gets people to, or influences them to really help them, I guess. Does that make sense? Just kind of, once you get to know someone, you want to help them more out, or their problems become real, not just superficial. But to that globalization 1, 2, and 3, there was another presentation on TED.com, and he basically talked about the world, how globalization has changed. And at first it was globalization point 1 is by the country, and so basically how like Europe countries kind of conquered other places, how they spread things that way, like the belief, or the Catholic Church went on these missions and just kind of got people baptized, however their means of doing so.
Right.
Or the Spaniards, the French, they kind of went out and spread their ideas, their beliefs, their things. It was kind of just by our country, and that's just how things were spread. And then 2.0 basically means by your, I think it's by your business. So by businesses, certain, like say Microsoft or something, went over to another country or spread something, or
There's a lot of businesses who actually give part of their money to them, a certain percentage to people in Africa or other places in the world. So, yeah, is that what you're talking about?
So charitable contribution, or
yeah.
you mean by business?
Microsoft does it, I know.
Are you just trying to spread their product?
yeah, basically just
Get out into the world?
yeah. So the factories had the ability, without the country, it wasn't the country moving somewhere, it was kind of the factory. Yeah, it could be going somewhere, helping them out. It could be going somewhere, building a factory there for cheap labor. It could be the factories going somewhere to spread their ideas, to spread their work, to get their work or get cheaper labor, or
What
to
about,
help
like,
people out.
there was a guy that called us from Washington when you were on your mission in Cape Verde, that was over in Cape Verde doing business like potatoes and things.
Oh yeah.
And that's what he did. He went over there a couple times a year because that was his business, and he was promoting his business, but he was also I'm sure, helping that country at the same time. Is that what you're kind of talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. One of the basic ideas of the class is also he gave us all $1 called the development dollar, and we're supposed to find a way to aid the country with that dollar or put it towards something. But their stipulation has to be approved by him, has to help them out, and it has to help you out as well. You can't just, here you go, here's a dollar. But it's supposed to help you out as well. And it's supposed to improve the life without making more inequality. You don't want to like help people and then make other people worse. And I was just thinking, other people brought up ideas and stuff. There's a teacher that has ideas that he wants to donate 2 cows or 2 goats that are male and female and donate it over there. And so a family or someone can mate them and start like a business with them, start having babies and try to like start something. Or he also thought like an internet cafe, kind of just like fund a building with satellite internet, and someone could volunteer to run it, and it would earn money for kids, for education, for certain things. And one idea I've just been thinking, because he's always talking about how we can use our profession, how you said nursing, kind of how I'm going into nursing as well. Tried looking up some stuff on the internet, and I found this website. I can't remember what it's called right now. But basically it's kind of service missions for medical people.
Right.
And so you first take these kind of classes online or get a book and stuff about like the diseases there and stuff. And then you go do like a service mission there for so long, so you can help the people out, used by your profession. And I thought that was one way maybe I could use my dollar, was to put it towards the, I don't know, tuition fee, I guess,
Okay.
for that.
Right.
One day when I'm, after I'm done with school and I get my base in nursing, I could do that and try to learn the diseases and make a trip over there, and I could start my way over there.
And what immunizations they might need, and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
So you can go over there and treat
What's
them.
3?
Alright, so keeps on skating. Oh, and by the way, the last school I went to, they went to Kenya after the nursing program for 6 months. I
Oh,
thought that would have
really?
been really
Oh,
cool
that'd be
thing.
cool.
But this could actually, take the place of that if I could get into it later on.
Oh, that'd be
I
awesome.
always thought about on my mission too, if I could go back to Cape Verde and help them out, but I got 2 countries. No.
Yeah, too.
Alright, and back to Tyler. Globalization 3.0 is basically how just the internet and everything happened, how cables were spread everywhere, how everybody has internet, has computers, somewhat accessible. I can't say everybody in like Africa, like the country, and those rural parts have, they don't have access to any electricity or anything. But 3.0 is how people, they just have access to everybody through the computer. Like I can upload anything to you, you can upload anything to me, someone can start their own business from home. It talked about on the presentation some taxi driver, this guy that went to a country and he's leaving, and the taxi driver gave him was like, hey, if you have any friends, just they come over here, I'll be their taxi driver. And he's like, oh, okay, give me your number. And he's like, no, here, I have a card. And the guy had a card with a website and everything about his taxi, had it in 3 different languages. And for people out there that, in 3 different languages, people that come in to visit could just call him to use his taxi to help him transport through the thing. Through the internet, he was able to reach other countries, other languages, just from his computer, and just start something. So that is basically, the first is just kind of by your country, you're just kind of stuck within them. The other is the business, and the other ones is the country, or I mean the computers, internet.
Oh, okay.
And now people can upload anything they want. It was downloading, now it's uploading. And I put Burkina Faso in 1.0 because I believe they're still kind of stuck in the country. They don't have businesses that are moving all over that are just bringing in all this, or it's just kind of how the country is developing. It's how the country people are living. They don't have access to any of these other things. Maybe in the city, a few parts, maybe it's 2.0 or even 3.0, but the majority, I would say, it's all 1.0. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I know in some of it you asked like, what are some problems or why are they slowly slow to develop. And some of the reasons I thought is just the corrupt government. They've had a really hard time having some good government. I know just this last year, one of the important things, one of their, I think, head of treasury was sacked for stealing money and doing this other stuff that was supposed to be used for something. Just their instability throughout the country. They can't really get together. They can't. There's so many. I don't know. There's so many challenges. They're so far behind. It's impossible for them to get up to where we are by themselves. I think it's an important thing in like the Millennium Development Goals. I know we talked about. I'm sure you guys look at them a little bit. Just I had them listed. It was just like help hunger and poverty, education, women equality, child mortality, reduce child mortality, increase maternal health, combat STDs, environmental stability, and partnerships globally. I think only with the partnerships globally that they're going to be able to increase or become better. No, you guys know of any partnerships globally? Think of any? What's one that we're a part of, even the United States? It kind of regulates the world, or a bunch of nations.
United Nations.
United Nations, World Health Organization.
Yeah.
Is that one too?
United Nations. What I was thinking about, World Health Organization. Those other ones I've looked up that are helping Burkina Faso. I think I wrote down one of those papers. It was like the
Is the Red Cross?
Yeah, that definitely. They're helping out other countries. They're helping more than one country. It's international.
And
That's a good example.
isn't there what's the one that goes out all the time and helps, like with health missions, like you were saying? I can't think of them. Anyway, there are a lot of organizations like you can go through that you can become a part of and
Peace
spend
Corps,
just Peace Corps.
there.
That's who I was thinking of. Is the Peace Corps, because you could get hooked up like for missions, health missions for like 6 weeks at a time.
Churches worldwide.
Yeah, it is true. That's true. Good point, Tyler.
Church helps out.
It's true.
There's Global Water Foundation, UNICEF. It's trying to do a lot there. There's soil.
And like with wells and stuff, do they work with them?
Trying to get them clean water.
That's another dollar thing, I think. I mean, water is so important. You use it for everything. And that's where diseases can develop if you don't get it right either. So.
There's a lot of diarrheal diseases. Typhoid is the #1 killer and sickness there in Burkina Faso.
Oh, really?
But,
It's awful.
you guys want to, pick a question off your papers there? Maybe something I didn't answer. We can talk about.
Do they have like any tourism over there, or any? There was that one site that you had on there, but it's the
historical site. It was kind of walls. It was just basically some of their ancient. It was just a building from like when their tribes and stuff were there, just a long time ago. It's more of just a historical thing. I don't think it had a real
So they
significant
don't have
thing.
a lot of tourism or anything. There's not a whole lot to. So they aren't developed enough to have that. That's part of the problem, right?
There are some. I was looking. They have some forests and things that are really. That seem really like people could visit and stuff. It's shared with other countries, and I'm sure people take safaris and things there, but it's nothing that's. I think there is actually some tours and things that you could go on,
Right.
but I don't think it's like global, like a
It's
big
probably-
hot spot for
no.
tourism or something.
Probably more if you want to come help them. That you donate your time for that. So I thought it was really interesting when I guess, because I find it interesting when we compare our part of the country with other parts of our country, even America. Like down south might be developed differently than we, and I haven't ever been down there, so I don't know, but you hear stories about, how they're a little bit different than we are. And I thought it was interesting how they had that site on the website where that Tanzania or
Tanzania.
Yeah, Tanzania was compared with it. I thought that was interesting. Even though they're in the same country, but they're quite far apart, the comparison where they might be developed a little bit more than Burkina Faso or whatever, you know. So it was interesting how, even though you're part of one big country or one big continent, how it can develop differently just from maybe the landscape or and the people, or your heritage or whatever, you know. So I thought that was interesting. Comparison there. So,
Get anything new, man?
I look.
So what's the yellow on the flag mean?
Oh, that's a good point. See that?
So how much gold is there actually there to dig up? I mean, they go there and they dig it. They look for gold and they dig for it. Is there?
Yeah, that was interesting. I read that also. That agriculture and gold mining actually are pretty big there. There's actually a lot of, I don't know, not a whole lot of agriculture, but there could be. There's a lot of goats and stuff, but mining, there's a lot of gold there, rich in the country, and people look for it because they want to, you know, earn something. But I think I don't know, people just don't. It's not quite. They don't receive the same value that we say we spend for gold. You know, it's very rare here or expensive. If they found some, they'd probably turn it and get hardly anything for it. If they could turn it anywhere, it's not like they just have this, you know, treasury everywhere that they can just. Yeah, I assume they have just kind of how a lot of Africa is that, you know, the gold. Their people in Africa, you know, the old tribes and stuff, they used to just have it and just have it like earrings and necklaces. It was just kind of what they had. They're like stones. And then white people came in, globalization, and they went in and they, you know, this is valuable, you know, and they took it and they used it for money, and the people in Africa didn't really know or realize they couldn't do anything anyways about it. And so I think people go in there and they mine it and they ship it out, but they don't. It's not really like helping the. It's probably a business that came from another country that's funding them instead of helping the country out.
Is there oil or natural gas in the earth there? Do we know there?
Not that I know of.
Alright, let's talk about the flag.
Alright. You asked about what the flag means. It's red and green with a yellow star in it, I think. I looked this up. It says the Pan-African, let's see, Pan-African colors. It reflects the Ethiopian flag because some of the tribes kind of came from Ethiopia. Reflects the country's past, African ex-colonies. The green is supposed to represent abundance in agriculture, natural riches, gold. The yellow is the guiding light of revolution. Because they first start out as the Mossi. See, the Mossi kingdom, Mossi tribes, kind of were there. They came from up northern toward Ghana. Came down and they had like peasants and everything. They were farmers, they were soldiers. And basically they kind of had a civilization. And then they fought off really hard how to keep out other beliefs like Islam, Muslim. They tried to keep it out. And then eventually the French came in and conquered them. So they're under French dominance or rulership, leadership. And so that's kind of their past. And they were called the Upper Volta of Burkina Faso, which is the colony French rebellions. But then in, I think it was 1983, they got independence. So I guess they're pretty proud of that. But I mean, I wish they were doing a little better than they are. But that's kind of what their flag is. A little bit about their past. That's probably why they're not super developed. It's just kind of they weren't. Maybe if the French would have stayed there and then just kind of evolved more, but I don't think that. I think the French was more worried about their land than theirs.
Yeah, I was going to say, there probably wasn't much there. What religion did they...
Oh, there's...
It's mostly Islam and Christianity.
Yeah, there's some Christianity, not a whole lot. Islam, there's a lot of tribes, there's a lot of doctor, which is, I don't know, kind of weird things. I was looking on a website, it's talking about how maybe religion is something that's actually ruining life there in Cape Verde, or not Cape Verde,
In
Burkina Faso, or parts in Africa,
Right.
Western Africa, because everyone just wants to do religion, be like a preacher or something, because it's easy way to earn some money. They don't really care about anybody, and so there's just popping up everywhere about some stupid beliefs, or not very good beliefs, or truly beliefs that are supposed to help them or help them, follow God. They're just to earn that guy money. There's some really weird practices and things there. I know, I was reading about.
So I need to send more of our missionaries over there and tell them that we don't get paid or anything. And tell them the true gospel is that it brings them true joy without pay.
Do we have missionaries in that country? Do you know? No.
I tried looking it up, and it didn't seem like there was any. We found some kind of relief things to them, but I don't think we have a mission there. Well, let's see.
And I'm worried about the women. How come the women can't? Are they suppressed? The women are suppressed,
Yes.
like the men.
I know, that's one of the, let's see.
Excuse me.
That's one of the, a few more, it's got wrapped up here then.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's one of the, Millennium Development Goals. They've actually done a lot better. They've got them a little bit more education. They're not up to where they should be. They're not equal with boys or up to their goal, but they're trying to get them into school. It's hard though, because they can't. Kind of the women's role is to cook and to clean, to get wood. If they don't do it, then it's just
Doesn't
not
get done.
a society norm for the boys to do anything like that. They do other manual things. But there's polygamy practices. There's people banished for witchcraft. There's certain women
like
are suppressed.
A lot of kids die too, or the birth rate's not very good.
Yeah, it's actually even. I was looking at the child mortality, or the birth rate mortality, has actually went up from the last few years. But they want it down to like 128 for 1,000 or something. Or let's see, for maybe 10,000. But it's not where it should be. But how? So maybe just to wrap it up. What do you guys think we could do, or you guys could do, to try to help them or people in underdeveloped countries? How could we do our part?
Let's give our time and try to get some service projects going that we can ship over there, or if we do go into the medical profession or business or whatever, go over there and set it up there, or go and volunteer our time for free there.
I know there's been times even that we've had like outdated equipment or whatever at the hospital or places I've worked before now that have actually donated them if we knew of somebody that was going over to a country or somewhere could take that sort of thing. So I guess if we're more aware of it, it's our becoming more aware and knowledgeable of what's even out there. I didn't even, until I looked at your website, I guess you don't connect, like Tyler was saying. There's no personal connection to feel empathetic or charitable towards those. They're just all the people in Africa. You know what I mean? It becomes this real generalized thing, and you have to become interested in that country or those people in some connection so that you feel the need to help in some way. And you do. You get to the point where you think, now what can I do? What would $1 do to make a difference in that country or to help them as well as, and we know always, especially this time of season, that it's always good to give. If you can start thinking about somebody else, sometimes your life's made better in some way too. So.
We could support, I guess, any organization that we might hear about that's just asking for donations. so they can help those people over there.
As long as we know they're
Legit.
good.
Yeah.
We have to be careful there.
Definitely want to make sure they're a real organization that's there to help them.
And then just continue to stay active in our church and fast offerings and tithing
Yeah.
and send missionaries off.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Our church is, it's helped a lot of people throughout the world, and I think that's something that needs to keep happening. I know God, knows the best. I know people try to take things into their own lives, or they think about themselves more, their pride. Maybe the corrupt government thinking about themselves, not the other people in a whole. I know that we take a different perspective with the gospel. We think of things kind of the whole eternal plan instead of like just this moment. Sometimes it helps us through things, helps us with our family, with society, with things. And I know that those people need the help. But I know you said like help organizations. They talked about in class how they have things I think on Amazon that said you can buy a cow or a goat for someone over there. You just buy it online and then they give it to them.
Oh, really?
They ship it to them. So you can just buy a cow. And they talked about like these, what are they called? Some kind of lanterns, or not lanterns, they were stoves that used 1/10 or 1/5 of the wood that people would use, and they burn for way longer, and they produce electricity while it's burning.
Oh, wow.
So they could use it to like power a computer or something, and then they could save that time that they would be gathering sticks all day
Right.
for cooking and do something more to help them develop more by just helping out, trying to get those over there or get clean water. I think that the whole world needs to, everybody needs to pitch in, otherwise it's not going to happen. But
And I think you did really good on your website. It was really interesting. I'm glad you asked us to review it. That was good.
one of the biggest things I think I've learned is look through other people's perspectives. I think on my mission too, it changed my view of the world. Kind of just, you always think like, oh, America, we're the best, and ours is the best way. And some people there are just incredibly happy. Like it's weird. Like you don't have electricity, but you're laughing, you're having a great time with your family. Like so close. We have like so many things, but sometimes we're distracted and we get distracted from what's really important or what's really. But then there's also other people there that are just horrible living, that need so much help. In that class, we looked through a lot of perspectives. We're supposed to like sociology, kind of the group of people, the physiology, the psychology perspective, the celestial, the disciplinary, like your profession. You can kind of look through that and how you can help them in that way. I think that's just important, that we all need to be open to other ideas, to help others and look at things in different perspectives, different views. Because everyone just looking straight, like one way is not going to fix it. Everybody needs to kind of, look at different ways to figure out the best way. But, you have any last things you want to say or anything?
Thanks for letting us do this.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, thank you.
Good night.